Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Reserved Investments, and thank you for joining me. Today, we are going to be talking about the possible collectability, possible investment potential of the One Piece collectible card game. Now, before we talk about this, there is a phrase that I repeat quite often on this channel and also through the articles that I write for Antiques and Auction News. That phrase that a lot of you have heard me say a gazillion times by now is the only constant in the entire antiques and collectibles trade is change. One of the most difficult things about investing in any type of antique or collectible, especially over the long term, is attempting to gauge what we think the value of something is going to be X number of years, X number of decades out into the future. And the further out you go, the harder this becomes. And this is something that a lot of the Timmies, Kimmies, and Poindexters, or the starry-eyed speculators that are operating in these markets, do not understand. It's very easy to look at something that's selling for $4,000 right now and assume, well, probably over the next 30 days, or maybe even over the next 60 or 90 days, that item's probably going to be worth right around $4,000. Maybe a little less, depending on the day, depending on the market conditions, maybe a little bit more. But overall, we can pretty much gauge that for the most part, that item's going to be worth roughly $4,000. Now here's a challenge for you. Take that same item and go out 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Can you accurately tell me that that item is going to definitely be worth more than $4,000? And if it is worth more than $4,000, how much more? Because we know just by looking at basic finance, we can get an average return of 10% over the long term per year just by investing in a simple S&P 500 index fund. This is why when we look at the world of collectible finance, there's a lot of risk in these markets. There's a lot of risk underneath the surface that a lot of the Timmies, Kimmies, and Poindexters do not understand, especially from a long-term perspective. Now, obviously, if you're buying this stuff at below market value, meaning you have a retail store, people are contacting you, you're paying current 70 to 80% of market value, and you're turning a profit on the difference by selling these items directly right into the market, guess what? You're set up for success. If you're somebody who is able to go out into the market on a regular basis, whether you're going to garage sales, flea markets, antique marts, or whether you're engaging in reselling by being one of these particular individuals that is camping out at GameStops, Walmart, Target right now to get modern era Pokemon cards because they're so hot that you can flip them for 3, 4, 5 times your money on eBay right after you get it, guess what? You're going to make money over the short term as long as demand for those products holds. Now, that's another story because always remember, demand is also constantly changing in these markets, whether it be over the short term or whether it be over the long term. Go back anywhere on this channel, you're going to see I've done a lot of videos where people have done some stupid things, especially during the pandemic era, where people were paying X thousands of dollars for a collectible or an item that has lost value substantially since that point in time. Now, when we look at items that make up what I call collectible cardboard, we're talking about obviously sports cards. We're talking about collectible card games like Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, and of course One Piece also fits into this. And we're also talking about the lesser known cardboard collectibles like 1977 top Star Wars trading cards, Garbage Pail Kids, Wacky Packages, all those weird, obscure collectible cards that came out over the years that are now being graded and encapsulated by companies like PSA. Well, that particular market is in a massive speculative frenzy. So you got to understand that if you're looking to invest in something like One Piece, you are buying into a market frenzy, whether you realize it or not. And I think that this is important that we start here and then ease in to the potential that One Piece has. Now, obviously, when we look at the overall antiques and collectibles trade, I know this is going to be a review for some of you. There are three markets that govern the trade: speculative, established, and mature and sophisticated. If you come to me and you have a scarce or rare ancient Roman coin, obviously that item belongs on the mature and sophisticated side of the trade. If you come to me and you have a vintage Mickey Mantle 1952 Topps card, that's an established market within the antiques and collectibles trade. Now, when we look at speculative markets, that's where we have a lot of these collectibles where if we get a my DeLorean time machine and we go back just 20 or 30 years, they were not as hot as they are today. As a matter of fact, if we go back 20 to 30 years, a lot of these collectible items were still in their infancy. We're talking about Magic the Gathering. We're talking about Pokemon. We're talking about certain video games. Those markets are on the speculative side of the trade. There's a lot of volatility in that market. Now, this is where One Piece comes into the equation. Because let's be realistic here. For those that don't know, One Piece has been in existence since the late 1990s. One Piece is almost as old as Pokemon itself. And any Pokemon collector will tell you, I can prove this just by going into the comment section of some of my earlier videos, that Pokemon is the most valuable franchise in the world at present time. And to be fair, that's 100% true. But the only constant in the antiques and collectibles trade is change, especially over the long term. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, again, if we all get in my DeLorean time machine and we go back in time just 20 years, Star Wars was the most profitable #1 pop culture franchise in history at that particular point in time. If you don't believe me, in 2005, roughly, that was when Revenge of the Sith premiered. That was the final prequel movie. That was very big back then. That's pretty much where Anakin transitioned into Darth Vader. So it's a very popular movie in the series. Now, since that time, due to the acquisition with Disney, due to the fact that Disney couldn't handle the franchise as well as George Lucas, Star Wars is still one of the most profitable and popular pop culture franchises of all time. It's in the top 5, but it's no longer in the #1 spot. Now, question for the Pokemon collectors out there. Question for the people that are thinking of speculating in One Piece. Is it possible then, seeing that in the last 20 years, we saw Star Wars drop out of the top spot of being the world's most valuable IP? Is it then possible to assume that over the next 20 years, Pokemon may drop out of the top spot of being the world's most valuable IP? Could it be that One Piece takes the mantle? Because let me give you some facts here. One Piece is based on one of the most popular Japanese manga series of all time. Again, I already told you, it premiered in 1997, roughly. And since that time, it has done nothing but shoot up in popularity pretty much year after year. As a matter of fact, in right around, I think, 2021, 2022, Netflix pretty much announced and released a live action series based on this manga series that is still quite popular to this very day. Now, the card game was released by Bandai, and it came out a few short years ago. And already, if you go on price charting, if you go on eBay, you're going to see some of these One Piece cards are selling for thousands of dollars. But again, there's a caveat here, because the entire market for collectible cardboard right now is in a massive speculative frenzy. So there's a lot of people that made money in sports cards, in Pokemon cards, in Magic the Gathering collector booster boxes. And they're looking, well, where else can I throw money in this market? And now all eyes are on products like One Piece. So there is opportunity here. I want to make that very clear. Now, where, again, this becomes risky, also if we assess what happened over the last 10 years, we had a lot of collectible card games come and go. Now, some of them are still with us. If you guys remember back around, I want to say 2017, 2018, we had Flesh and Blood premiere that was pretty much propped up by a lot of other YouTubers out there. It's still in existence today, but from a speculative / investment standpoint, the market is pretty much cooled. There are die-hard players, lovers of flesh and blood out there, but overall, the collectability of the cards hasn't really stood the test of time. I know there's going to be people in the comment section that disagree with me, but honestly, if you actually do price research on the value of those cards, what they're selling for today, what they were selling for back in the day with cold foils and all that crazy stuff, you're going to see a lot of them did fall in value a little bit. Now, another card game that we do also have to talk about is the rise and complete collapse of MetaZoo, which a lot of people now refer to as Metapoo. There were a lot of people that unfortunately bought into that collectible card game in the beginning that, again, was being propped up by YouTubers, only to lose thousands of dollars in the process. Now, obviously, what One Piece has going for it is One Piece is an established IP that already had relevance before the collectible card game came into existence. So we're not talking about Flesh and Blood here. We're not talking about MetaZoo. We're not talking about some of these lesser-known card games. I don't know if you are aware of this. I was a fan of Megacorp. Megacorp is no longer being produced. Megacorp was pretty much promoted also through Rudy with Alpha Investments to a lesser extent. He did a couple of videos devoted to that card game. That card game did not survive, unfortunately. So here we are today, where collectible cardboard is ultra hot. And now we have this new card game that is based on this very popular Japanese manga series that stood the test of time. So now that we're 12 minutes into this video, this is where we get to the advice that I want to give you. If you are somebody that is really gunning it, meaning you made significant amounts of money in maybe sports cards, Pokemon cards, buying, selling, speculating, investing in any type of Magic the Gathering collectible, whether it was the original coveted reserve list cards, or maybe you bought in at the right time for certain booster boxes or collector boxes, and you're sitting on this stuff and you know you could sell it for a profit. If that's you and you are doing very well, you're not struggling to pay your bills, you have a well-diversified financial portfolio, maybe you have real estate holdings to boot. If you want to take some of those profits and speculate in One Piece, while it's not something I would do, I'm not going to spite you for it because there is some potential here. Now, the problem is if you're attempting to invest over the long term, that's where, unfortunately, my crystal ball is a little bit cloudy. I can't really see somebody starting to accurately take a massive position in One Piece like they would in like Pokemon or Magic the Gathering. Because remember, when we look at collectible card games, it's Magic the Gathering and Pokemon that are king of the hill. Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't compare to those two. None of these other card games, whether it's Lorcana, which is owned by Disney, does not compare to Magic the Gathering or Pokemon. So there is tremendous risk here. Now, what's very interesting is I'm curious if One Piece still starts to accelerate in demand month after month, year after year. Is this going to cannibalize the Pokemon market to a certain degree? Because if people are attempting to speculate in One Piece now, and let's say that they were spending $500 or $1,000 a month on Pokemon products, that money has to come from somewhere. So how is this, the potential popularity and investment of One Piece, going to affect the market for both Magic the Gathering and Pokemon? That's what's going to be interesting to see as we go along here. I do have to mention, though, if you are investing in One Piece, in my opinion, it is a very high-risk speculative market. If you are okay with that risk and taking a chance in that market, it could potentially reward you. It all depends on what the market for collectible cardboard does over the next few months, over the next few years, along with our new collectors, our new speculators, our new enthusiasts that are maybe just being exposed to One Piece through the live action Netflix show, are they going to want to collect the card game? Are they going to want to play the card game? Are they going to want to at least, at the very least, speculate and invest in the graded cards? That's what's really going to determine where this goes 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. For all we know, this could just be a flash in the pan. And I know a lot of you don't like me to say that, to use that term, flash in the pan, but that could potentially happen where pretty much this is just the byproduct of the speculative boom, the speculative frenzy that we're seeing in the market for collectible cardboard. So at the end of the day, this is not something that I'm choosing to invest or speculate in, but make no mistake, again, guys, in another month, I'm going to be 49 years of age. This isn't for me. If you're somebody that can tolerate the risk, you understand the risk of attempting to invest in this, especially over the long term, then you do you. Just go back and watch this video again in full and just ponder some of the talking points I put forth in this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you want to see me do more videos on this? Do you want me to do a deeper dive into One Piece? Now, obviously, I'm going to have to wait a couple of months because I want to see what develops in this market. But if you want me to do more videos on One Piece, I very gladly will. Thank you for watching. And if you are subscribed, I just may see you in another upcoming video.